Good morning. My name is Tula Shushu. Today I am going to be making the Pioneer Woman's cinnamon rolls. To get started, I just went to the Pioneer Woman's website. Anybody can go to this website and anybody can get this recipe. This is not mine. This is 100% hers, and I hope I don't get in trouble for putting this out on the internet on how to make it. So what I did was I'm just going to go here to search and type in cinnamon rolls, and you will find she has several options to choose from. Just scroll down. Pumpkin cinnamon rolls is probably one of the most popular right now, being it's October. I just went to the Cinnamon Rolls 101 and I read through her blog, which is hilarious. If you've never been to the pioneerwoman.com and read any of her blog, you really should. Okay, so let's get started by making the dough. 1 quart of whole milk, which comes out to 4 cups, 1 cup of vegetable oil, and 1 cup of sugar in a pan. Now what I am going to use is just a giant stock pot, just a normal stock pot, just something that you would make soup or spaghetti in. And I'm going to get that started. Okay, I've mixed 4 cups of whole milk, 1 cup of vegetable oil, and 1 cup of sugar. And I'm just stirring to mix it all in together. And I've got it on my stovetop here. And we are going to cook this on medium high until it's scalding, which is just below the boiling point. If you get it to the boiling point, you run the risk of scorching the milk and kind of making a mess. So you want to get it to it's just about to boil. It'll look kind of foamy, so we'll get to the next point and move forward. Okay, so we are starting to see it's just about ready. And so what we're going to do now, and you can see that it's kind of soft looking, and when you stir it, it just kind of all flows together. I did this on my stovetop for about 7 minutes, and it got to this point. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and take it off the heat. Just go and turn it off and remove it from the heat, and then we will let it sit for about 45 minutes and let it come down until it's between 100 and 120 degrees, or just kind of warm to the touch. And then we will add our yeast and get that active and happy and move on to the next stage. Okay, we are now to the point where we can move on to the next stage. I'm going to stick my thermometer in here and make sure that we are just over 100, not quite to 120, so that we can make the yeast nice and happy. Okay, so right now we're sitting at about 110, 111 degrees, which is just perfect. The next step is going to be to add 2 packages of yeast. 2 of these, they come in packages of 3, and we're going to use 2 of them. I just like the Fleischmann's Rapid Rise Highly Active Yeast. You can use any brand. It doesn't necessarily have to be highly active, just as long as it's active. And we're going to go ahead and pour this in and let it get happy. I'm just cutting open both packages at the same time with my scissors. And then I'm just going to pour it in. Now really you don't want to mess with it once you pour it in. You're just going to let it sit and do its thing. And while that's sitting there getting happy, I am going to move on and prep for the next step, which is to add 8 cups of flour to this mixture here. And as soon as we add the 8 cups of flour, we will allow it to sit and rise for just a little bit. Alright, our yeast, as you can see here, is really happy. So what we're going to do now is we are just going to add 8 cups of flour. I have that already portioned out over here. I didn't think y'all wanted to see me portion out 8 cups of flour. It's really, really boring. I'm just going to put all of this in at once, and then we'll mix it all up together and really make a good dough for our cinnamon rolls. This is the easiest part. Set that down. Of this whole process. It's a whole lot of waiting. It's a very long, drawn out process, but I can promise you it is well worth the time. I would probably make cinnamon rolls on a day that you have a child at home sick, because it takes a few minutes in the kitchen and a whole lot of time waiting. So I guess I started this project about, let's see, about an hour ago, hour and a half. I guess it would have to be about an hour and a half ago. So we're just going to mix this up, and it looks really gross for a while, but it'll all come together. And you will get your daily workout in, because this is not as easy as one would think. It gets thicker and thicker as you go. Kind of makes it look like a porridge of some sort. And you want to get all the way down into the bottom and get all of that moisture mixed into the batter. Okay, at this point, we're just going to let it set. We're going to let it sit again for about an hour, and it's going to fill up most of this pan. So, I have a tea towel that I use, just a regular old towel. This is just a towel from Williams-Sonoma. You can use thinner towels, or if you have a flour sack towel, those work great as well. And you're just going to want to cover this up. You can leave it sitting right where it is. Cover that up, and then the yeast is going to interact with all of those yummy, yummy ingredients and that flour, and we're going to see what it does for us. Okay, now we are ready to do the unveiling of the dough. I'm just going to take this off, and it looks beautiful. It's nice and risen, and it's absolutely beautiful. I wish y'all could smell this. I love the smell of yeast. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is, according to the instructions on pioneerwoman.com, we need to add 1 more cup of flour. I'm just going to add that in there. It's going to sink down just because there's so much air in there. No big deal. We need to add, we're going to introduce new words now. We're going to add 1 heaping teaspoon of baking powder. That means you want it bigger. I don't know if you guys can see this very well, but it's bigger than the spoon. There's more in there than should be. And we are going to have 1 scant teaspoon, which means just under a teaspoon of baking soda. So that's heaping teaspoon of baking powder and scant teaspoon of baking soda. Okay, I'm going to take my spoon, my spatula, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to incorporate that all in together really well. It takes a bit because you don't really have a whole lot of liquid that you're working with. You're just kind of finishing off that dough. Okay. This is where your workout comes in, big time. Now, I'm going to talk through the next section real quick while I'm incorporating this. The next step is the actual rolling out of the cinnamon rolls. Now, at this stage right here, you can take this dough and you can cut it in half. This is enough to make 2 separate portions, 2 separate rolls per se. And you can cut this in half, and you can freeze them, wrap them in plastic wrap, and make sure that you understand that if you wrap this in plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator or in the freezer, it is going to expand. That yeast is going to keep keep growing. So it will expand, so just get it in there and freeze it up, pop it down if you need to, and rewrap it if you need to, and everything should be fine. It's not going to hurt the dough at all. So you can freeze it at this point. You can refrigerate it at this point for later use, tomorrow or later this afternoon, or whenever you have time to finish up the cinnamon rolls. We're going to go ahead and use this now as is. Now, I like to roll out my cinnamon rolls just on my countertop. I have enough room and I have no problems cleaning up messes. If you don't like messes, then you're going to need to get a huge cutting board and do it on that. You can also put down parchment paper and you can roll it out on parchment paper. The lesson that we need to remember here is that we can't be afraid of flour. We're going to use a lot of flour. We're going to sprinkle flour on the countertop. We're going to sprinkle flour on the dough, and we're going to roll it out. And if we don't put flour on it, it's really going to stick to our rolling pin. So I'm going to go get my countertop set up, and then we will move on with the next step.